How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. And today you might notice my shiny tool rest. I thought it was about time we made things look a bit pretty around here, so that's my job for today. Now on the lathe today we have a double crotch piece of ash. It's 12 inches wide and approximately 5 inches ish thick. Quite a heavy chunk of wood. And even though I did my trick of balancing it on the spike, it is a little bit out of balance. So we are turning at 800 RPM with the 40/40 bowl gouge. So you might remember a few videos ago I did the flame elm platter. And although I love that piece, I kind of wondered what it would look like if I'd have took that bowl all the way to the outside instead of doing an inner bowl. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take the bowl all the way to the outside and not have an inner rim of any kind. So at the moment we're just getting a nice outer contour. I don't bother wasting time trying to make the piece completely round at this point, because I don't think it would actually be in balance. Even if I did, I'd be chasing it down and down and down, and we'd end up with a normal round bowl, and we don't want that today. Now I've called this project Warts and All, and that is because this is far from a perfect piece of wood, and I knew from the beginning I wasn't going to use any glue, I wasn't going to use any paint, I wasn't going to use anything to take away from the character of this piece of wood. So yes, it's got a million cracks in it, and those cracks are going to stay there because they're part of the character of this piece of wood. Now this has been drying out in my log pile for at least 2 years. It's one of the first bits I chopped down when I started wood turning, and it's just been left, and then it was rained on, and then it was left again, and that was a long time ago. So it's a pretty tough piece of ash, it's got to be said. So you can hear I've sped it up now to 1400 RPM, but you can also see that the lathe is bouncing around even though I took all that weight off. So at the moment the base of the piece is still pretty uneven, and that's where a lot of the imbalance is, I think. Okay, so it's time to take the weight out of the middle of the piece and flatten off the bottom. Certainly an interesting angle to be using the bowl gouge at. There we go, that's the base of the piece, a lot flatter than it was. So I'm doing a double swept curve on the outside of this piece. You've probably seen me do one before. So we're going to start at the outside of that foot and cut in and then back out again to sort of the middle where I'm at now. And then we're going to do the same thing on the upper portion of the bowl as well. Obviously up there, that's where all the knots and the extremely hard pieces of wood are, and all the air. That's where all the air is, up there as well. So it's some pretty lumpy cutting. We're almost getting down to the shape that I want. Had to sharpen up the gouge a few times in this piece. It's extremely tough. Because it's a double crotch as well, the grain's going in about 18 different directions in this piece, so there's no consistency to the way it was cutting. Some passes it'd be grabby, other passes smooth. Up here where I'm cutting now, it's just mostly grabby. Okay, so it's time to isolate the foot that the bowl's going to sit on. And in a second we're going to put our mortise in as well. Quite a fibrous wood, the ash. Okay, so we've switched to the skew, just to get a nice mortise. It's making not a bad job at all there with that skew. Okay, that's the bottom pretty much there. Some beautiful grain in there. Right, let me introduce you to head cam. This is the 4th camera, and it's mounted to my head. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know, but you can see exactly from my perspective what it looks like to be doing what I'm doing. So I thought that'd be interesting. Let me know if you like it, or if you hate it. We'll see whether or not it continues. So I started sanding at 80 grit. And worked all the way to 800 grit on the outside. And it is a pretty piece of wood. Warts and all, with all its cracks. You can see the worm galleries on the top there, where the wildlife has invaded. So that's just Howard feed and wax. Nothing else required on this, there's so much going on. Just a bit of Howard feed and wax on it, that'll do the job. Now those black spots where it was on the outside of the log, I just lightly sanded those. I didn't take the chainsaw marks out, I just left them in. Okay, so we've come to the point of the show where we get to have a look at some of your fantastic work. And this is a potpourri bowl sent in by Julian Clarke, regular watcher, commenter on the show. And that is a very pretty potpourri bowl, Jules, it's got to be said. I don't know where you found that insert for, but maybe you could let me know. I might fancy having a go at one of those. It's really nice, thanks for sending it in. And John Hooten got in touch to tell me that he is the newest member of the Funnel Club. I'm not sure whether he fixed that hole or not. You have to get in touch, John, let me know how that worked out for you, mate. Right, if you want your images to be featured on the show, you can send them to willmakeseverything@gmail.com. Look at the state of that workshop, eh? It's like an assault course trying to get round with the gouge in there. So it's still out of balance. I did try it at 1400 and it was very scary looking. because that mortise is not the deepest. So we've dropped back down to 800 RPM for the moment. Again, this is where a variable speed lathe would be absolutely fantastic, because I could just speed it up to 1000 and everything would go better. But there we go. I've got down to a level where I can turn it back up to 1400 without thinking it's going to kill me. So we'll go with that. This took an awfully long time to hollow out, so I'm not going to show you all of that, just the main parts of the hollowing and how I went about it. I'd love to be doing the old sycamore technique of just picking a line and seeing it all the way through, but with this ash it was so tough I just couldn't do it. So I did it in sections from the middle to the outside. Here's an interesting one. I'm not sure that's a recommended technique. But it looks cool. A little bit of slow motion there for you. I'm going to see if I can speed the frame rate up on that camera and get some proper slow motion shots in the future. That's just my first attempt at it. Alright, so not too many more passes and we will be down to final depth. I did keep this bowl pretty chunky. There was a lot of cracks in the outside and I didn't fancy bits of it flying all over the workshop. And it's going to be a fruit bowl anyway, so a nice bit of weight in it will do just fine. Now, I was down the house earlier looking at the finished bowl and looking at it next to that flame elm. And I don't know which piece of wood I prefer, you know. There's a lot going on in this piece of ash. It's a very, very pretty piece of wood. Is it as pretty as the flames in the elm? You'll have to let me know on that one. So started again sanding at 80 grit and went all the way to 800 grit. Nice and smooth. Nothing left to do but put the Howard feed and wax on, and she'll be done. And there we go, folks. One double crotch piece of ash. Warts and all, every crack and imperfection left completely untouched. Complete with worm galleries. So if you like it, let me know that you like it. Hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, I'd be really grateful. And I do hope you've enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think about head cam. You know, generally leave me a comment because I like reading them. So, right. I'll leave you to it. There's a lot of pictures, so enjoy them. So I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, folks.